Okay, this is Chapter 2, Lesson 3, and we're continuing to focus on the ability to multiply and divide positive rational numbers fluently. Today we're going to be focusing on multiplying whole numbers by fractions, and that also has the same effect that multiplying a whole number by a decimal does. Remember, when you multiply a whole number by a decimal that's less than 1, the product is actually less than the factors in value. Okay, let's continue. All right, to multiply a whole number by a fraction, first off, let's make sure we're on page 124. It says that you must write the whole number as a fraction. So whole numbers can be written as a fractional part. They are rational numbers. So we have 5 times 3/4, and that's equivalent to 5 over 1 times 3/4. Now, if you notice, they have switched around the factor order, and that's called the commutative property. We're going to be reviewing that. I know that's something you've already heard of before. Commutative means you can multiply anything in any order and get the same product. So if we have 5 times 3, we get 15. And then 1 times 4, we get 4. Now that explains how we get 15/4, but then all of a sudden it says simplify, and then we have 3 and 3/4. So let's explore how that happened. Okay. So basically this is a division problem. So we're going to take the 15, which is the numerator, and divide it by the denominator, the number of pieces it's cut into, and that's going to be the 4 right here. So we have something cut into 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Something cut into 4 pieces. 4 plus 4 is 8. Something cut into 4 pieces. 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. Something cut into 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 16. But we only have 15. So when we do our division, we're going to say 3 whole pieces times 4 equals 12. And when we subtract that, what number are we going to get? 3. Now we have been dealing with decimals where we're going to annex a 0 and bring it down, but today we're talking about fractions. So what you would do is you would go back and think, oh, I just divided this by 4. So we're going to use 4 as the denominator, take the number 3, put 3 up here, and the remainder is not going to be R3. It's going to be 3 and 3/4, and that's where we get that. 3 times 4, 1, 2, 3 times 4 is 12. 4, 8, 12. And then we have 3 left over. 1, 2, 3. 12 plus 3 equals 15, which is our dividend. So that is what we're going to be doing today. Instead of finding the remainder as a decimal form, we're going to take the remainder and make it into a fraction. Okay, there are 2 methods. One I just modeled, and that's the area model way of multiplying. And so we have 2 groups of 2/5. So we have 2 groups of 2/5. Both of these are cut into 5 pieces. We shade 2 of those, we shade 2 of those, and the total is 4/5 when we put them together in one column. So shade 4/5 of the third column. Okay, so that's one way of doing this. All right, so method 2, they set up the problem 2 times 2/5. We're multiplying a whole number by a fractional part, so our product is going to be less than 2 as the answer. 2 times 2/5 is the same as 2 over 1 times 2/5. 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 1 is 5. And so we end up with 4/5, which is less than 1, definitely less than 2. And that's how this works. Okay, so let's go ahead and try one from these examples down here. So 6 times 2/3. The first thing we need to do is make the 6, the whole number 6, into a fractional form. What are we going to use as a denominator? Go ahead and answer that for me, please. That's exactly right. We're going to write the number 1 as the denominator. 6 divided by 1 is 6. And we're going to multiply that by 2/3. 6 times 2 is what? Very good, 12. 1 times 3 is what? 3. Now, this is not the final answer because this is an improper fraction where the numerator is larger than the denominator. So we're going to go ahead and divide. So that is a division problem. What number goes inside the division symbol? Is it going to be the numerator or the denominator? Answer that for me, please. Very good. It is the numerator. In this case, the 12 is larger than the 3. The 3 is going to be the divisor. It's the number of pieces it's cut into. 12 divided by 3 is what number? 4. And that fits into a whole number being multiplied by something smaller than 1, gives us a product that is less than the factor that was multiplied by something less than 1. Okay, very good. Okay, now we're going to multiply a fraction by a whole number. When multiplying whole numbers and fractions, the order of the fractions does not change the product. That is called the commutative property. 4 times 3/5 is the same as 3/5 times 4. So if we are multiplying 3/5 times 4, we could actually solve this by drawing a picture. So we have 3/5. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 groups because we're multiplying times 4. And in order to solve this, we would actually shade in the 3/5. So I want you to go ahead, shade in 3 of each of those bars inside the rectangles. Then I want you to write what fraction actually got shaded. So 1, 2, 3, 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. And how many pieces was it cut into? Very good, 5. So that's where we end up getting the 12/5. But that's an improper fraction, so we have to actually simplify that to figure out the answer. To simplify it, we are going to divide. So what goes on the inside? The number 12. Good job. And what goes on the outside? The number 5. How many times can 5 go into 12? The answer is 2. We subtract the 10, we get 2. But in this case, since we were dealing with fractions, what we're going to do is we're going to write a fraction. So what should be the denominator of this fraction that we're going to make the remainder into? That's exactly right, 5. And the remaining amount is 2. So we're going to end up with 2 2/5. So again, if you want to look at, if you just make the 4 into 4/1, 3 times 4 is 12, 5 times 1 is 5, we end up with the same exact answers down here. We'll just look at this next example of 1/4 times 5. We do the same process as we've been talking about. 1/4 times, we change the number 5 into 5/1. 5 times 1 is 5. 4 times 1 is 4. We end up with 5/4. Now, so we can do division with that, or if we actually draw the picture, we know that one thing cut into 4 pieces. We have 4 of those. And that can be written as 4/4. And then we have another rectangle cut into 4 pieces. And that is 1/4. 4/4 plus 1/4 is 5/4. So another way of writing this is 1 whole, because 4/4 equals 1, and then 1/4. So besides division, well, and again, the pen's going crazy, so let me try that again. 1 and 1/4. We can solve this by drawing a picture as well. Okay. So, and again, there's some more examples, and we're going to do some guided practice here just a little bit. Let's look at one last example. A sloth spends 4/5 of its life asleep. If the sloth lives to be 28 years old, how much time does it spend awake? Okay, so the reason why this is a multi-step problem is this last part. They tell you when it sleeps, but now they want to know how long it's awake. So 4/5 plus what equals 5/5. So 4/4 of its life, it's asleep. That means that 1/5 of its life, it's awake. So that's what it's talking about here. 1 minus 4/4 is 5/5 minus 4/5, 1/5. And so then the second step will be to multiply 1/5 times 28, put 28 over 1, multiply 1 times 28, you get 28, multiply 5 times 1, you get 5. And as far as simplifying, they don't show this step, but we're going to divide the number 28 by the number 5. 5 times what is close to 28? That's correct. The answer is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. And when we subtract that, we get 3. So what is the denominator going to be? It's going to be what we divided by, which is the number 5. And that's how they get 5 3/5. All right. Before we begin our guided practice, I want you to think, what is something important that we should remember about how to multiply whole numbers by fractions? Please answer that for me. I appreciate you writing your notes and paying attention. Thank you.